Sumerian and Babylonian astrology in practice. The Mesopotamians believed the constellations were images of the gods, while the wandering stars, or planets, which included the moon and sun, embodied the gods. Celestial interactions were seen as messages and instructions from the divine. For the most part, the gods of the planets in Babylon were synonymous with their Sumerian counterparts, with the exception of the gods embodied in the planets Mercury and Jupiter. The deity each planet, star, and constellation represented varied by time and culture, but generally speaking, the Sumerian gods embodied in the planets were as follows. The sun was UTU, called Shamash, in Babylon, and he was the god of justice, among other things. I'm generalizing greatly. In Sumer, Mercury was Ninurta. He was a heroic god of agriculture, healing, hunting, scribes, law, and war. But in Babylon, Mercury was Nabû, who was the god of knowledge, literacy, and the rational arts. We have a little bit of overlap between these two, which probably made it easier to switch them out over the millennia. This sign right here, if you tilt your head to the side, you will notice that it is literally depicting female genitalia. So this is the dNIN sign. You see it in the name for queen, sister, and it's also used as a determinative, the munush sign or me sign to indicate a female. However, this dNIN probably derives from the word for terrifying, which is ni. It's kind of like a reduplicated ni, and it got reduced to nin. So what we're really looking at here is lord, or somebody you might be afraid of, somebody important or powerful like a lord or a master. I have seen it read as nun, which can mean prince. These together are the _URTA sign, which can mean oval or ear of barley. So we're probably looking at Ninurta being the lord of barley. This is the Ang sign or Ak sign, and it is genitive, but the Akkadians read this Nabû. Venus was Inanna. Her name was rendered with this sign, and her Babylonian counterpart was Ištar, and they were both the goddess of love, beauty, fertility, sexuality, and war. The moon was Nanna. Again, we talked about his name being written 𝒀�💆 but pronounced Nanna. In Babylon, he was called Suen, and here we see his name is actually written backwards. This is a whole different conversation, but we see Suen, which becomes Suen, and was later reduced to Sin. And he was the god of fertility, blessings, and all things wonderful in life and probably in death. He was also known as the celestial shepherd, and I have an extra P in shepherd for some reason. Mars was a deity known as Nergal, written dKIŠ.UNU or dKIŠ.UNU Gal. This sign, Kish, can mean all or totality. This word right here can mean a lot of different things, which we're going to have to cover at a later time. In Akkadian, this figure was synonymous with Erra, and they were both the god of war, death, pestilence, and the underworld. This word by itself can mean G.GAL, which is a wise man or a sage. We actually have a few different ways to render this, which we will talk about at a later time. In Sumer, Jupiter was Enlil, the god of the sky, the non-celestial sky. But later in Babylonian times, Jupiter was believed to be the embodiment of dAMAR.UTU, which literally translates as bull calf. Amar is calf, Utu is sun. And while he wasn't very important in Sumerian times, he did become the head of the Babylonian Pantheon in the same way the Greek Zeus or Roman Jupiter did, and even the Hebrew Yahweh. And finally, we have Saturn, who was Ninurta again, who we talked about up here with Mercury. The approach and arrival of planets in relation to one another and the constellation was watched and documented as though life and death depended on it, and it actually did to them. Celestial movement was believed to bring life and death to the land, to the nation, and to the king himself. Bad omens could be countered with apotropaic rituals, a practice which has remained alive in Hindu religion and culture to this day.